Hello everyone, I'm your host, Sharon Sirota, and I'd like to welcome to the call today, Gary Goldman.
Thank you for having me, Sharon. I want to thank you and also Sungates Center for having me here today.
Well, it's an honor to have you. Now, Gary holds an MA in Organization Development and is a nationally recognized leader in education reform and youth empowerment for over 25 years. His mission is to empower students and adults as leaders, change agents, and lifelong learners who work collaboratively for building healthy and safe communities. He is the co-author of Empowering Students to Transform Schools. He has worked to build sustainability and healthy communities in Chicago, K through 12 schools, and communities across the nation. Gary has been featured in the media, including CBS, NBC, ABC, WGN, CNN, the Chicago Sun-Times, the Chicago Tribune, and has hosted his own weekly Chicago radio show, A Voice for America's Youth. Welcome, Gary. We're so honored to have you here.
Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate that.
Well, let me just ask you, what started you on this wonderful journey to helping and empowering the youth?
Well, I would say that I used to be a young person myself.
Oh, really?
And I still am.
I know, young at heart. Right?
Yes, I never quite grew up totally. So I think that remembrance of being a child and what that meant and some of the things that I didn't really get all the opportunities I really wanted to as being a leader brought me to that recognition. I used to have my own center years ago called the Center for Creative Consciousness, and then I was led to kind of an inner calling to work with the Chicago Public Schools. I walked to the Board of Education one day and I said, "Can I help you?" This is when it was on Pershing Road, 39th and Pershing Road, and I said, "Sure, you can help us, but we haven't got any money," which is not true, but that's okay. So I started helping some of the staff there and did some workshops on renewal, and finally I got some letters, went to the Chicago schools, high schools and elementary schools, and said, "Can I help you?" And they were very thrilled to have somebody come in, and I started initially doing it for free until people knew about me. Then I started charging as a consultant. So that was about 25 years of work, and I'm here today to talk about the progress we're doing.
Well, that's wonderful. It's so exciting that, you followed your heart, that you decided that this is what you wanted to do to help students, to help people in the community with their children, and empowering their children in starting out, not even charging them, just saying, this is really what I want to do. And then at times when we do what we love, then the money comes.
I like that.
Yeah. So for you also wrote a book, and it's called Empowering Students to Transform Schools. And can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Yes, the book Empowering Students to Transform Schools, I'm co-author Gary Goldman with Jay Newman, who used to be the county superintendent in Michigan. But the book is a labor of love, and it's a compilation of a lot of inner city stories as well as some stories from rural America too, so it shows the diversity. And it actually shows a process. In the book there's like flowcharts showing how do you involve our young people in making a difference in their schools and communities, and it shows you can involve the kids, the parents, the teachers, the community, and a roadmap, which we all need. And each chapter shows a different project, and at the back of the book there's a roadmap's blank, because each community, each school is different. So I want people to know you have to kind of be flexible and tune yourself to each situation. I could read a few quick stories if you want.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We would love to hear that.
Okay. Oh, well, first I want to give a quote. There are many quotes in my book. I'm going to give one I really like. It says, this is by Goethe, until one is committed, there's a hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of creation, there's one truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. So in other words, what it's saying here is, whatever you can do or dream, begin it. Boldness has genius and power in it, and that if you commit to something 100%, the universe, life will support you, bring you things that normally wouldn't happen. So that's how I work in my life. I say, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to give it 100%, and I've always had that support. So story-wise,
well, you know, I love that. I just wanted to, you know, mention that. I think that's really empowering for students to see that they can do things, and once they have that commitment in their minds and visualize that they can see it and do that for themselves. So, you know, I have an analogy for that. You know, if you can vision that you can crawl, you're going to crawl. But if once you have the vision that you could walk, you can walk. And when mankind had the vision to fly, then they could fly.
I like it.
So it's moving forward with those visions and bringing that into the physical reality. So, but first one has to think it, right?
Imagine it, exactly.
Think it and imagine it, exactly.
I think Einstein once said imagination was greater than any mind or intelligence. He really had value of spirit and imagination. So
yes.
I agree.
And a lot of our inventors, they have a lot of high spirituality in their thought process.
Yeah.
Because they envisioned things and they saw things that could happen, and they made it happen.
Absolutely.
So, and the same thing for you, Gary, that you were a visionary and still are, because you have so many great projects that are coming up that we will be talking about in just a moment. But to see you, you know, have this vision and then moving ahead with it, and no one else is doing this, that you are the, you know, forerunner in doing this. So thank you.
Well, I'll do my part. I appreciate that for your kind remarks.
Okay.
So one story that speaks to my heart, this was in England actually many years ago. I was working with Robeson High School, and the principal asked me to work with 50 students and helping them. This was she gave me the at-risk problem students, so to speak. And I worked with 50 of them for half of a day. She said, "You wanted them to create a vision." Well, there was one student who wouldn't participate. He had his head down. He wanted me to throw him out. I didn't, because I just kind of tapped him on the shoulder every now and then. I kept walking around. So finally, at the end of that day, the students, 49 students, wrote their vision, but he wrote his own vision. I'm going to read it. And this is from this very high-risk student who wouldn't even participate. It's called the Declaration of Independence, his own independence. When in the course of high school events, lots of changes go forth in our lives, we must follow our dreams. Look for the unique goals in our lives to explore the souls of our students. To give them a bright future, we want a peace of mind, a type of unity in our family. We must learn to have better communication among each other. Let success be our number one priority. Let education take us further in life. Try to be all we can be and find happiness in all that we might do. Let us have a form of dependability, work together and find motivation to push forward. Give each other mutual respect, which will give us faith and self-esteem in one another. And finally, learn to understand one another, our achievements, our knowledge, our spirit. Let us all make a sacrifice and hope that we can trust and believe in one another. Each and every person is likable and unique, and through our lives we've had joyous times and times of pain. Let knowledge be power, and let the students of Paul Robeson High School say, quote, "A powerful source of leadership will rise among us," unquote, and the spirit of our school will never vanish from our lives, but will grow for years to come. Keith Jones, problem student.
Well, that's really wonderful.
Yeah.
Because it shows bringing people together and having that collaboration and with the unity that people can come together and really empower themselves and show leadership and build that leadership.
Well, the principal, when I read this, she said, "Who wrote that? What teacher?" And when I said Keith Jones, she says, "No way." So if you have the right key in the right door for the right lock, you'll open up the person. If you use the wrong key, you're not going to open up that door. So it just shows me and other people that you can, even the highest at-risk students, have that potential to be that wonderful, spirit-filled, genius leaders, which he's demonstrated very succinctly.
That's excellent. And let me ask you a question. Why did you choose to work with Englewood?
Well, that's a good question.
And Englewood is in Chicago.
Yeah, South Side. It's generally around, this school, Harper's around 65th and Wood, 65th and Ashland. But you know, my heart has always been working with the kids that are underprivileged, low economic situations. I've kind of been, again, I've been led there, they say. I've worked in, you know, also Palatine and Des Plaines and other areas, you know, as well as the inner city, and I actually worked in England too. But I've always been led primarily to work in the inner cities with these kids. So I followed my spirit, followed my heart, and I've worked there. In my book, it has all kinds of communities like that. So it's just been I think, a spirit-led vision.
Okay, great. Can you share with us some examples? Have you been in the classrooms and what happened? Sure.
In an area that's west side of Chicago, outside of England, but still in the inner city, I worked in a elementary school. I walked in with a friend of mine had a camera. We walked into kindergarten, first grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade, and we were talking about life skills. In the first grade, the life skill we chose was relationships. So we had 45 minutes, and I talked to the young first graders about relationships. What are they? And after a few minutes, a young lady named Crystal, first grader, said, "Everybody hates me." Well, okay, that was pretty clear, wasn't it? So I asked her to come and sit with me on the teacher's desk. The teacher was sitting on the side. And I looked at and I hear her little heart bumping, you know, bup, 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 bup. And I asked the students, I talked to them as people, I said, "Do you hear what little Crystal said? Everybody hates her. How do you think she feels?" Silence. I said, "I'm going to ask one student to come up here, take a risk." Talked about risk taking. Come up and tell Crystal you're going to be her friend. So silence. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Finally, one student raised his hand, came up and said, "Crystal, first grader to first grader, I want to be your friend." Another student, so the whole classroom was up there surrounding Crystal, saying, "Crystal, we want to be your friend." So I looked at Crystal, I said, "How do you feel?" She says, "Good." I said, "Good." And look what happened when you asked for help. So in 10 minutes, they changed the whole paradigm about her being in pain and no one liked her too. She had a whole community of friends right there, and it helped the kids too to come up and be of service to her. And the teacher was pretty amazed, but I think she learned something too.
Oh, wow, that is such a wonderful story, because there's so many different levels that just happened, you know, for me, what I can see through that. You know, and knowing children, because I was once one myself.
Oh, good.
Yes, you know, a lot of times kids don't speak up. They don't say really what's on their mind, and they let things kind of sit there, or, you know, they're not invited to talk, like in social gatherings so much. They're, you know, a lot of times my mom would say to me, you know, only speak when spoken to. And then that's when I would talk. So there are things that I'd be thinking, and of course you keep those things inside. Now this isn't for everyone, but that happened for me. So for this little girl to even tell you and feel courageous enough to say that, you know, she feels like she is not liked by everyone or by anyone, it sounded like, and for you to take initiative to have her come up to the front of the classroom and sit with you, and, you know, it took her out of her comfort zone, that's for sure. And then to have one student, just one person to start, you know, and as soon as one person initiated that, "I like you, Crystal," you know, that just sparked everyone else to say, "Yes, you know, we all like you." And for everyone to get up there, I think that is so empowering. And it made her feel likable. It made her feel welcome, that she didn't realize that they do like her. And she was thinking, and it was a misbelief, right? And a lot of times we carry these misbeliefs throughout our lifetimes if they're not, you know, corrected earlier on. And these are things that we, you know, go through our lives, and known and unknown to ourselves, what we really bring on to our bodies and our minds and our thoughts.
Absolutely, Sharon. And I'll tell one more story, because you reminded me of something where one person can make a difference. In my book, I worked at the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center. They're from 11 to 16 years old. They're behind bars for all kinds of things. 11 to 16, okay? I would say mostly minority, unfortunately, African American and Hispanic, and some white, some Caucasian. But I begged the superintendent, "Let me work with these kids." I said, "Fine." I said, "Okay, fine. We're going to give you 15 kids, 11 to 16. You have a hour and a half, whatever it is. So I went in there and I didn't know exactly, but when I saw them, I said, okay, I have a brainstorm. I'm going to talk about success. That's important, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So I asked, what is success? I mean, I can ask anybody that question, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for them. And they said, well, it's money, having a good woman, a fast car, that's kind of typical you would hear. And I said, well, there's a different kind of success. It's an inner success. Things like happiness, peace, loving, caring, kindness. I try to give them some ideas, okay? I said, I'm going to now challenge you all, okay? And there was one staff person there. Each person is going to come up here, and they're going to claim 2 inner success experiences, okay? Such as peacefulness or kindness or whatever. So one student, we got up there, and he wasn't sure what he was going to do, but he said, I want you to start out with I am, and let's see what comes forward. I said, okay, I am caring and peaceful. But no, nobody believed it, the way he said it. So I said, now the job of you 15 students, 14 students there and the staff is to not let him sit down till he really means it. He really gets it from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
So he was doing it and he was getting upset. Finally he said, I am caring and peaceful. And everyone said, yes, because he got it. But
right, they felt it come out from his heart.
Right.
Finally.
Right, but now everyone had to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it really created a sense of team and support. Finally, I asked the staff person to come up. I said, me? He says, yes, they did it. So he had to come up and be authentic also. Finally, he finally got it. They finally said, yeah, you got it finally. So I'm going to read just a few quick comments about the result of that. And well, unfortunately then, they were actually transformed in a lot of ways. They had to go back to in line to their cells, which was a little sad. But here's some of the comments from the kids, the young people. Today I learned more than I can imagine. I can go on forever knowing I have learned something that will better myself. I learned that people care about me, and I can do more things with help from my friends. I learned to go for the gold. I learned how to be successful, that all people can change to do right after they do wrong, etc., etc. And the staff person was amazed. He says, I learned these boys can work together. I've been here for some time, and to get these boys to cooperate with each other is amazing. These boys show me they are more intelligent than people tend to think. So what happened in an hour and a half was I just listened to them, I supported them, I believed in them, and I knew that they all have that magnificence inside themselves. And I just helped. The word education, educare, means to draw out from within. That's all I did. But you have to create that relationship first with people so they can come out, not keep giving them information and do this and go to tests, which is very limiting. So I have to work with the whole child, the emotional, the mental, physical, and even the spiritual, even though you may not say it is, but that's what it is.
Right, right.
So holistic education.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and I understand that. That is really perfect what you just said, because I know that when people are taken out of a certain environment that they're in and they see themselves in another space, a sacred space that you created for them, to say, okay, you can speak and you can say whatever it is that's on your mind, because we're here to support you. We want to hear what is on your mind, and then bring them together to a point where they can actually create something for themselves, see themselves do something more empowering,
right,
and give them that empowerment, that vision. And even in that short time, that hour and a half that you were with them, that they could see and create that and know that there's more than what they have, being there. And
I agree.
Do something else with their lives.
I agree. We talked about the inner cities. I'm going to talk about the current project in Englewood, if I may.
Oh, absolutely. We'd love to hear about your project. So it's at Harper High School?
Yes. There was an article, there's many articles in the newspaper, but there's one particularly. It says, urban violence calls for extreme measures. And it says basically that the neighborhoods in the inner city in Chicago are really sometimes war zones. There's so much shooting and killing, and even babies get killed, And they're adding more additional police officers and these violence-plagued neighborhoods, but it's not really doing the job because they're doing it from the outside in. So there's been many blameless victims whose deaths have gone unnoticed, really, and because it just becomes like the norm. It's unacceptable. My work, and hopefully other people's work also, is to bring a new paradigm shift. I think it's once said that when the paradigm shifts, everybody goes back to zero, which means we need to look at things with new eyes, new ideas. You know, the definition of insanity, if you keep doing the same thing over and over the same way, you expect different results. That's called insanity. So we have to do things differently.
Of course.
So I'm working with my education partner in California, Jim Hullahan. He works with the Hollywood producers in California and puts together tremendous large screen media IMAX kind of shows. We brought a few down to Englewood, and it has, you know, like Oprah in there, Will Smith, etc. So that gets kids excited, which is important. But then we take them to Lake Geneva, which we did recently a few months ago this summer. About 10% of Harper High School, we took them to Lake Geneva with some of the staff, and community came to visit, including the aldermen, and we gave them very high-level corporate leadership skills that corporations use. You know, a lot of venture courses, etc. They did it very well. Okay, they adapted. So they came back, and the evaluations were very high. You know, they learned a lot about life, teamwork, how they can make a difference in the schools, etc. And they came back, and now, October 24th, 2014, they want to paint the inside of the school, a good portion of the school. That's what they said to the principal. The principal said, okay, if you want to do it, we'll support it. So now we've been talking to different potential sponsors, you know, to Home Depot, et cetera, different corporations to sponsor this event and get the paint, and we're working on that. So October 24th, you're going to have a group of students begin to paint this with the support of the adults. ABC TV said they would express interest in coming out because they want to see kids in action doing positive things. That's important. So that's the first of many projects we want to highlight and get the whole community involved, because this is a comprehensive youth empowerment process where we involve the whole community. But the young people are at the center. That's my book, Empowering Students First to Transform Schools, and then communities in the world also, hopefully. So we're excited about this process, and it started, actually about 4 or 5 months ago with training in Lake Geneva, and now we're very hopeful that this will continue. Okay?
Well, this is very exciting. This is so exciting to have this plan moving forward with Harper High School in Chicago, and that we're getting people involved, the media is becoming involved, and they're seeing the importance of this work. You know, students painting the school and bringing more of the community leaders together to, you know, also endorse this kind of work, this project. So this is something that our community definitely needs. You know, student retreats, community projects, career internships, school life changes. So this is a great opportunity for students to reach even greater heights of success.
Right, and with that, Sharon, we're also working with economic development there too. 10 years ago, approximately, we built 12 condos there in Englewood, and it was our company Saga, SAGA, with Brad Snower and Gary Goldman, recognized that innovation was the key to improving the condition of Englewood, and succeeded, and we want success in accomplishing something different and remarkable. So we're looking at different buildings now to actually buy and refurbish, so we can work into make it into hydroponics, where they can grow their own food inside, build classrooms. We're working with the alderman, state senator. So we want an economic process as well as a youth empowerment process. And we just feel Englewood used to be a very thriving community years ago, and somehow it's just been, now it's violence ridden, and we believe that it can come back. And we hope to be part of it.
It sounds like it is coming back already.
Yes.
It sounds like you're making great strides in bringing that together and seeing this project through. So thank you for all of that.
You're welcome.
And I know that when people use those words, they're shifting and they're transforming. When you said, you know, love, light, and joy, you know, that people were bringing in those nice words, you know, and feeling them from their heart. You know, when you were talking to the people, letting them know that these are the empowering words.
Right.
Right. So it's lifting up their spirits.
You have to reach into and touch their spirits and inspire people so they have new hope. Yes.
Right, because when you speak certain words, those bring certain vibrations.
Absolutely.
Right. So, Gary, I know that you also have a spiritual side, and we'd love to hear from you a brief meditation. Would that be something you'd be interested in?
I would love to.
Awesome.
Thanks for asking.
Great.
So I would say to people listening in the audience, young people and adults, let's center ourselves and just breathe in and breathe out. Just breathe in that loving, caring spirit in our heart, our loving. And I would say, Father, Mother God, we ask in that light, that holy light, the joy of the Spirit who we are, to just let go of any limitations in our lives, in our communities, in our young people, and let us begin to embrace the magnificence of our young people and ourselves and our parents and communities. And let's believe once again that, there is a greater force called God, called Spirit, called love, call it what you will, that is with us. And all you have to do is ask and be open to receiving that support. So, Father, we ask that we move forward in this great endeavor with your vision and grace, that we move forward in these cities, inner cities and outer cities, both to kids, young people here in Chicago and around the world, that there's a new renaissance, a new awakening, that our young people indeed could make a difference working with us to transform our world into a world of peace and harmony and joy and light. And we're so grateful to be here and grateful for this Sungates to have us here today, and we see them growing also. And we're just so grateful. Thank you. Amen.
Oh, thank you, Gary. Thank you for that. It was wonderful, beautiful words of empowerment. And, coming from Sungates, how do you see Sungates helping you moving forward? Well,
it's a step-by-step process. But I'm open to exploring different ideas. It could be where I come back several times and talk about different topics on the radio show, which you have a wonderful vehicle. Also, to let people know about your wonderful endeavors here of practitioners and
a co-working space.
Yes. And to just keep creating a partnership that unfolds with Spirit's guidance, I'm open to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and we can see moving forward, that we can have events here to help you with your project, endorsing some of the work that you do as well. And, just letting people know, too, about the co-working space that Sungates has here is that we welcome practitioners, whether you do massage, you do acupuncture, you do any type of modality like that we welcome you here. We also hold classes here for people. They can learn, different modes of like dance and Tai Chi and all kinds of wonderful events here that we have going on. And you can find that out at sungatescenter.com for more information. And we welcome you to check that out. Also, Gary, could you go ahead and do you have any final words or anything that you'd like to offer?
Well, if people want to contact me about this endeavor, my email is Goldman, GARGOLDMAN, Goldman at AOL.com. My website is www.kids, like zebra, kidsamerica.net, and that would be the best way to get a hold of us, and then we can see how you might want to be involved and support this effort.
Okay. Well, that is really wonderful, Gary. Thank you so much for sharing that with our listeners, and I know that they would love to get involved in some way, and you can help them to find out more information. So for our listeners, please reach out to Gary, or you can reach sungatescenter.com, and we would be glad to get you in touch with Gary as well. And just closing out with any other final remarks that you might have?
I just want to say, all of us still have that young person inside of us. Make sure you keep that alive and well. And, the secret of life is just keep loving yourself and others and finding that joy in life, the simple things.
Right. And helping our youth in the community is also helping ourselves.
Yes.
It's helping our community. It's also helping our inner child as well.
Yes. And
just reaching out to people, creating the relationships, and knowing that we can make a difference, that every person can make a difference in the community. And take a look at Gary. He's doing just that, and we'd love for you to join in with Gary to promote this. So thank you again, Gary. Thank you for being here on Sungates Radio. We loved having you, and we look forward to having you come back.
Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate that.
Yes. So thank you to our listeners. Thank you for joining us today, and have a great, great rest of your day. Thank you.